Let me know. Okay, audio's on.
Well, not the candy.
Right on the set.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute here.
Places.
That's so much work.
Watching water boil.
Ink dry.
Yeah. Makes the class right down.
Well, great and powerful as is spoken. You said we were live.
And then not take over.
Never mind that man back there behind the curtain.
Are you reading motions?
No, you are.
That was a rhetorical question.
Hell, I don't have my, where's my paper copy? Pay
I have real
back.
classes tonight. Remember, I didn't get it. It only took 1 week and it came in. It's like
Yeah, they
never
were
was-
fast.
Where'd you get it?
That comes from China.
Well, I went to Cunningham,
Oh,
the new
China.
Cunningham, so I wasn't going to go there again because I didn't want to pay that money back.
So do you like wine?
No, me neither. Everything's going in.
This guy.
Sweet
All
stuff.
right, here we go.
I owe you.
Call meeting to order. We'll have the pledge of allegiance led by Mr. Lewis. The flag back here in the corner. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Oh, something like
Fine job. Next on the agenda is good news, Mr. Hillerly.
I have two items that I want to mention. One of them, I passed around cards, and I know all the board members have signed those. You all know that we had to reschedule the high school winter formal. And the original winter formal had about 7 or 8 staff members who were signed up to be chaperones. As a result of what happened that got that dance rescheduled, we ended up with 24 chaperones, including more staff members, several parent volunteers, and including 6 off-duty law enforcement officers, one of whom was the parent of one of our students. I want to make sure I get his name right, Craig Court, parent. And he invited some of his fellow deputies to be at the event, and those are people who don't have kids in our school. But stepped forward to do a little community service work, and the students were noticeably comfortable with that level of protection, and mentioned more than one of them asked me if they were FBI. Speaking high schooler like I do, I just said yes. Because as far as I knew, sheriff's deputy was probably about the same. So just, having their presence, and, they didn't have to be here. They didn't have a connection to us other than the one that I explained. And very thankful and grateful, not only for them, but for the other volunteers who stepped forward as well. And then, something in town happened that evening that added a little anxiety, at least to the administrators and the security team. But also, there was no panic, nothing, there's no run on the school from parents. It just all went really, really well. So kudos to Dennis and Greg for setting that up and for pulling that off for our students. Very well attended event, and everybody had a great time that night. So thank you for that.
Do we have many students ask for a refund?
10.
And we probably had that, judging from the social media, we probably had that many more that come and bought tickets because they
Yeah,
forgot.
so yeah, we probably doubled that.
Right. That's nice. It's probably just the crew, the Nutcracker.
Unfortunately, the one group that was on the outside of that decision were the kids who were in the Nutcracker Ballet. I attended that Thursday night, and very nice production, but no matter where we placed that reschedule, it was going to bump into something or somebody's event. So that was the decision-making, and really the final decision was made by senior class officers. So student input was given on that. And then secondly, I want to say thank you to Devin and the tech staff, a couple of members here today. With the increased concern about security on all of our campuses, they did a real quick audit of our camera systems, both inside and outside of our buildings, and quite a few of those things really needed to be upgraded, brought online, repositioned, and they spent some time over the weekend doing that on their own time to make sure that our students are well protected, and we have the capability to see things that we might need to see. And I just want to say thank you to those individuals and bring it to the board's attention. It's not something that they were asked to do. It was something that they felt needed to be done. So thank you to that crew and to Devin for leading that. Those are all the items for good news for this evening.
Very good, thank you. Next on the agenda is public comment. I don't know that we have any public here. So we'll move on. Next is the agenda. So we do have one revision, I think, right, Rick? We need to add a discussion item and an action item for this a vote on the preliminary application for the bond.
Right, met with the Department
So,
of
I mean, we'll
Treasury.
just tell me what it is, and then we'll discuss it. We had to put it on discussion.
Right,
Yeah.
it needs to be on discussion and an action item.
So it's a bond, what's the exact
It's
word for it?
approving the bond application.
Bond application. So we'll have a discussion and we'll do a vote.
Correct.
So you want a motion or is that it?
Do we have to have a motion to put it on the agenda?
Oh,
We
yeah,
do, right?
we do.
Okay, that's the only one
Is
that I
that the
know
only-
of.
oh.
Does anybody else have anything?
All right, so then I move that we add approving the bond application to discussion items and action items.
Second.
We moved and seconded to make an addition to the agenda. We'll do a roll call vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The addition to the agenda is made. Now we have to approve the agenda, correct?
Correct. I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
We moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. Roll call vote. Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The revised agenda is approved. Moving on, scheduled reports. Budget Committee. Trustee Brooks?
Yes, so we actually had a very good discussion, a very lengthy discussion. And I still owe an apology to Victor for keeping him so late on his birthday. Sorry, Victor. Victor presented us with a marketing presentation, which I think that's been sent out to everybody now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we had some great discussion about that. I mean, that's something that's really been talked about from the very beginning of this board being seated, that we needed to market our schools and show why we are an amazing district and people should come here. So again, same thing with our strategic design, right? It got waylaid by trying to get things calmed down and then COVID. So now we're circling back to that as well. How we're going to market and some ways to get the information out there about our district. So that was a great conversation. You do see that on the agenda as a discussion item, I believe, isn't it?
It's not.
Oh, because it was it's part of the budget amendment. Never mind. So that was one of the main things we talked about, and then we discussed some other items with the budget and getting that ready for tonight to vote.
Okay. Any questions for Trustee Brooks on that? Okay, next on the schedule report, strategic planning committee, I'll discuss that. So we did have a meeting last week with the strategic planning committee, and we finalized the list of names who will be, we're going to ask to attend the meeting on January 22nd, the all-day meeting, where I sit at about 52 people, I think. But we certainly understand that not all of them are going to come. The right number is 40 to 45. So I think that Rick and Veronica are starting to reach out and invite those people. What are you saying?
Invitations will be out this week.
For the end of the week. And we'll start gathering a group of people. It was broken down to about 50% staff and students and us, the administration and board, and then 50% community. Yeah. So moving forward with that, the next big thing, obviously, for us, the committee, is to get the people signed up to attend on the 22nd. But as far as the board is concerned, make sure you've got that on your calendar for January 22nd. What time will we start?
I believe that they set it for 9.
Well, we have a couple meetings before then, but
we'll get it out.
Yeah, we'll get that out. Once we get the list of people, we'll do an official announcement. Any questions on that?
Will we get a list of who those people are?
We absolutely will.
Okay.
We could probably send that list.
I think the spreadsheet is already shared with the group,
I didn't see it.
but I'll read.
It's certainly shared with us, but yeah.
I think I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm really pleased to see that there's students. I've sat on strategic things before, and I don't ever remember
I think we have two
student
students who
presence.
asked, yeah.
So I think that is exceptional.
Agreed. All right, any other questions? All right, we'll move on. Discussion items, budget. Kelly, you wanna?
Good evening, board. I'm going to walk through, I promise briefly, through several budget documents this evening. And then obviously answer any questions or concerns you might have about the first budget revision. So there's two memos that just basically talk about what was changed. There was one kind of probably in a more formal accounting type format, and then one Superintendent Report provided. It gives a nice synopsis of what was added, what was included, and what's going to be potentially grant funded. Also in your packet would be a document that summarizes not only the audited actual from fiscal year 2021, the first proposed budget, and then obviously this first budget revision. This is the document that will end up on the budget transparency page and available to the public. And then you are also received the long budget line item detail, line by line. Obviously, if you have questions or concerns on that, we can address them. But what I'm going to talk to you right about this moment is the resolution for adoption by the Board of Education of Tecumseh Public Schools.
Can I just stop you one real quick? One of the things that you mentioned just now was the first document that Rick sent out to us last week, and it showed the things that were included in the budget and the things that were not included, kind of the major items. And I had a question on this, and I want to just make clarification on this. So that's this, it looks like this, okay? And the paragraph, second paragraph, says the projected fund equity in June was 21.3%. And that, if you correct me if I'm wrong, that was what we ended with at the end of last fiscal year. 21.3. The projected fund equity was 20%.
For the original budget, yeah.
For the original budget that we did in July, right? July. So that if you look at that, if you look at these numbers here, it shows that 20%. So I think that it's important to note that we were at 21.3 when we finished 2021 calendar. The original projected budget put us at 20, and now I think we're going to finish. The number here is 18, and they're really 18.93. So we're, after all the pluses and minuses, we're ending up at 19.3, but with actually just a hair less money, right? 271,000. Well, I'll let you cover that. But that number confused me, and I believe it should say 20% there instead of 21.3. Go ahead.
Thank you for that clarification, Tony. So anyway, this document that I'm going to talk you through right now is the state recommended format to comply with the Uniform Budgeting Act. Think of the summary basically it's a summary of this line item detail. And it's grouped by categories like the state monitors and the reports out on. And I'll talk about them. So obviously the first section is total revenue. So total revenue for the budget is $31,221,681. We're starting with a fund balance as of July 1st, $5,098,931, which leaves available to appropriate for the district $36,320,612. So that's all the funds that we could appropriate and still that would be available to spend should the district choose to do so. However, this budget is proposing that we're spending $31,219.770, and it's broken out as follows.
31 million, right?
Yeah, 31 million, did I say thousand?
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry.
31 million, correct. And these expenditures are broken out by function, and think of it as the type of activity that's occurring. Obviously, you want to see most of your spending in instruction, which is demonstrated there as basic and program and added needs. So there's $15,814,297 allocated for instruction. Added needs with things like at-risk, Title I, some of those things, $2,967,020. And then support services, again, are broken out in things that support instruction, but are equally important. We have pupil supports of $849,722. And those are things like social work, counselors, things of that nature. Instructional staff, this is the professional development for instructional staff, is $775,870. General administration, this is where actually the board costs and the superintendent's costs fall in those categories of $572,074. School administration is all school administrators across all buildings, and the cost for that is $1,839,001. Business services is $390,329. Operation and maintenance, again for the whole entire district, is $2,723,980. Transportation is $1,450,568. Central services, $824,793. There's another category, which is $748,252. Community service and outreach is $382,980. And then facilities, construction and improvements, this is grant funds. This is the ESSER 3 monies and other ESSER funds of $1,749,884. And then there's an outgoing transfers and other of $131,000, which leaves total expenditures again of $31,219,770. Estimated revenues are greater than expenditures by approximately $1,911, which will leave estimated fund balance as of June 30, 2022 of $5,910,842.
So our fund balance itself is going up from $5,098,931 to $5,910,000. So we're about $800,000 up in our fund balance, correct?
Yeah.
Percentage is a hair lower because we're spending more.
Correct. And there will be actually additional budget revisions as the year progresses. The state was really late rolling out federal programs this year, so there'll need to be a budget amendment that will reflect actual Title I spending and Title II spending, et cetera. So that will come probably early March. And then obviously there will be a final June budget amendment at the end of the year as well.
And our expenditures are up considerably because we're spending ESSER funds.
Correct, yeah.
How much longer do we, are we in danger of not getting or capturing those ESSER funds because you have to spend it within a certain time frame depending on the fiscal year?
Great. There's definitely a time frame for when those funds needed to be expended, but there's also something called the tidings amendment, which gives you an additional year after the grant allocation has ended to spend those funds. With ESSER 3 funds, which is our last pot of money, we have till actually December 30th, 2024 to spend the monies.
Bless you. Sorry. That the first
So
ESSER that
3
came
years,
out was like a really short time frame, and then they kind of fixed it from there.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I
That's
figured
what-
that's that sticks in our head, right?
Yeah.
So question I have, and I'm sure the detail is in there, but this new budget includes an increase in our sub-pay. That's one thing we discussed.
But, yes, funny you should ask. I actually did not increase the sub-pay line at all. Because when I was doing the budget amendment process, I looked at our substitute lines. We've spent nothing other than, for existing staff, the stipend they get for stepping in on their paying hour. So I thought, well, what's the point of increasing the subject line that we haven't even utilized at all?
So has the budget
So-
committee approved this increase?
So yes, so are you talking about for the
Sub-pay,
substitutes?
so, yeah.
So we had this discussion here, and kind of here's the way it goes. We upped it to what, 125 and 135?
Yeah, correct.
We've already been outbid.
Yeah.
It's already happened. It's already up to
So we're gonna take
150.
care of
It's
that.
already up to 140.
I just heard
Well,
that.
140,
here
150.
today.
I, like, literally 2 weeks after we did that, I started
Who's
getting
that?
emails.
That's it.
Ansa was already above us.
Morency, I thought.
Morency has, Adrian has, and I believe Madison has. They've upped it to 140 to 150. So we kicked around some different things in budget committee about upping it again or whatever. But like she said, we haven't even, we still, they haven't even been able to get them, to pay them if they wanted to.
Well, I understand, but if we get them, what are we paying them today?
It should be 125.
Yeah, 125 and 135 if
Right.
they're retired.
Which was the new,
Correct.
Right.
But what she's saying is we haven't paid anything out, so the
Right.
budget line is
Right.
still,
Great. Well, just
Enough.
still valid. We don't
We're
have
sitting there with the
any
money, but
concerns
nobody's
about
well, I
taking
understand, but I want to know if we were to get lucky and get a sub, what would we pay them? So we have
125.
approved that.
Yeah,
Prepared to pay the people we aren't getting $125.
Right.
correct.
That's awesome.
Unrelated, but in the future, you might consider what is called a premier sub, where you commit to hiring a subs in your district that you can float amongst many buildings. They know kids and they get a higher rate, and then you can count on them.
Right, I know that.
Also, there's some legislation going through Lansing right now to deal with the sub issue.
Yeah,
for
they talked
school,
about that at
school
the meeting.
employees.
Yep, for school employees. So if you're,
Yeah, saying that you don't
If you're
have to
an
wait.
aide.
If you retire, you don't have to wait.
if you're working in the school, you can be a substitute. If you're a school aide, you can substitute for that class.
There was also
So there's
something
some
about,
stuff going
Well, what
through
happens
there.
is when you retire, it's
You have
like
to wait
2 months
10.
or whatever it is before you can come back. And
right, but they're trying to get rid
Believe
of
me,
that.
have you received letters? I get letters from the State Department all the time asking if I'd like to return to school and teach.
Nobody's ever asked me.
But you
Be a
can't,
counselor.
I think the point was you
I
can't
received 3
substitute.
letters since September asking if I'd like to return.
Just like I don't want to do any quotes.
Do we need to do something?
We feel like that the money that's in the budget line item is going to be sufficient regardless of what you set the pay amount at. The rate at which we're spending is well below.
Well, I understand, but today it's 25 and 35. Should we raise it to 40 or doesn't matter?
We certainly can do that.
And what has to happen to make that happen?
We could talk about it in budget again. We threw some different ideas in that I don't really want to talk about because I don't want to give other districts the ideas.
Right,
So,
okay. Well, I guess we have to do the best we can to get subs, right?
Yeah.
Should recruit.
So the budget committee.
Don't look at
will-
me, I'm not retired.
The budget committee does not meet now till January, I would assume.
I'd
Those
probably
kids would
not
be
till the end of
sorry.
January, yeah,
Okay. All right, well, you'll take that on advisement.
be happy to.
All right. Any other questions on the budget from anyone?
I just also,
Oh.
there's 30,000 allocated towards the marketing plan. in the-
30,000 for the marketing plan? And Victor feels good about that number? Okay.
What would that be in? What category? On all, would that be in with the,
It would be under.
I was just curious.
Central, I believe.
Okay.
I think it's 1284.
it's no big deal.
Okay, and again, Rick had provided all the additions and subtractions, and the budget committee is comfortable that they've been able to reallocate money and keep our fund equity where it needs to be. And we made the appropriate adjustments. So everybody's good? Any other questions on that? All right, well, we'll move along. we will vote during action items to do that. Revised calendar.
Last week, I asked the TEA to consider opening the calendar and changing the last day before winter break to the 17th of December and not having student instruction on the 20th and 21st. Monday, the 20th was a full day of instruction, and the 21st, Tuesday, was a half day of instruction. They've agreed to move that full day to the end of the year to make sure that we meet the 180-day requirement. The half day will still appear on the calendar. It will be considered an act of God day. We'll use half of one of our 6 days of forgiveness time just for the additional mental health of staff and students and superintendents alike. So just wanted to bring it to the board to re-verify the calendar reflecting those changes.
All right, any questions concerning that?
We have the food service figured out for,
Yeah, food service put out a message to the building principals to get a tally, and they'll be providing non-perishable food to go home on Friday.
Something that's typically done, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but it used to be my privilege as a counselor to give it out. Bush's Value Land gives every school like $50 gift cards and things like that, and like a stack. It's phenomenal. And we are able then to like give these out to students that we know are going to have a struggle in the holiday time. And it is truly rewarding, is it not, to do that? So I do want to call out Bush's for that. They do it under the radar, but I mean, that does help families at a very difficult time.
And how many of those cards do they give out?
Lots.
That's very nice.
Yeah,
I mean, the stack arrives. I don't know. The stack arrives and we figure out as a counseling team or whatever, who do we need to give those to? And it's quite nice. And sometimes they do it at other times too, but mostly at Christmas.
All right, any questions on the revised calendar? We'll vote on that during action items. More discussion? No. All right, donations. Kirchhoff, $1,000 for Arrowhead Robotics.
yes, a couple of nice donations on your agenda tonight. Kirchhoff gave $1,000 to Arrowhead Robotics. I don't actually know the difference between Arrowhead Robotics and the Team 3773 that we talked about last meeting. And then also the second item, a donation from County National Bank for athletic sponsorships for the 21-22 season. So a lot of the banners that you see in our gyms and fields. So we recommend acceptance with the board's thanks.
And what is that, athletic sponsorship? What does that mean? That's like advertisements on the?
Right, they hang banners in both the gym here and the gym at the middle school. And they also have them, one was at the football field. I think they'll switch over to the soccer, baseball, softball.
I know she had a
area.
screen at basketball that was like electronic that
Yeah, it
came
sits in front of
across.
the
That's pretty
announcer
cool.
stand, yeah.
Right, yeah. That rolls through some of our sponsors during home basketball and volleyball games.
All right, any other questions? All right, bond application. Can you explain that? What, I guess, discussion on that?
Right, so we met with the Department of Treasury in a phone conference. Just had to answer questions about the process, how the project was developed over time. So I gave a quick summary of just how the Building Futures Committee worked through the process over the probably 18 months that they worked. And then we went through each of the projects individually to talk about specifically what would be done at each site. And then the financials were talked about. So what we're being asked to approve tonight is the resolution to move forward with the bond project. And I've got 6 documents for Secretary Brooks to sign if the board approves those things, so that they go to the state, the financial consultant, architect, so on. So each entity that is interested gets a signed copy of the board-approved bond resolution.
Any questions on that? We'll need to take action on it.
And that would be to be voted on when?
That is for a May election.
We're still going to stick with May?
And TMP will still come in and
Yeah.
do a
the
presentation. They
camp-
can't do anything until it's
Right.
final.
Yeah, the campaign is to follow, but
Right.
this is what has to be filed with the state.
Right.
And that's fairly date specific in order to get on the May ballot.
Well, that's kind of the final go ahead too, that we mean business and
Right,
it's-
yeah.
it's a
Probably the
goal
next
for-
thing we'll do with TNP is start to talk about fee.
right.
Because this is really kind of the last stamp of approval by the board to say we're serious about this.
I still have concern about why we would have the vote in May, knowing what it costs us. Rob, we've added the SRO back in, that's fine. We've added the marketing plan. We could save nearly the money for one of those 2 positions for this year by moving the vote back to August when there's already a primary election, so we don't have to pay for it.
How much does it cost?
Roughly between $30,000 and $40,000 to hold a special election like this, because when we did say for instance, the pool renewal, that was really just for city residents. This is for district residents, so we have to hold elections in all of the townships that fall within the district. So we have to support those as well.
So there will be an election at Raisin Township. We don't centralize those to one location and just vote in precincts there?
They do. I think,
We still have to
the
staff them.
city took over the Raisin Township, but,
For the pool, all townships were
Right.
at the rec center.
So, Greg, I can address the timing issue really well. If the election's not held in May, then we're not going for a bond renewal, then it would be a millage increase. Because if you don't pass the bond in May, then the tax, the millage for the debt service, millage reductions would be used at the June 30
Deadline.
2021 tax proposal. And then if we went out then in August to the public, it would be actually a tax increase, not a renewal,
But the same amount of money.
but the same amount of money.
And so it's semantics, really.
To a degree.
To a degree.
But the semantics matter.
Right.
I mean, when I was at the MASB leadership conference, they presented, you're in the 90s when it's a renewal. You're in the 50s or 60s for passage if you let it expire and then bring it back. So
Ken, I know that too I did that for 30 years in construction, and you're highly likely to be successful on a renewal.
What do the other members of the board, how do the other members of the board feel about this?
Is this budgeted or will this cause another revision?
You mean the cost of the election, are they
Right.
related? Yeah, the cost of election, there's always a pot of money for district elections that's built into the budget anyway, and what's currently existing in the budget is sufficient to cover it.
So it won't cause us to have to go back and take money out of another pot.
Correct.
I also think if it passes in May, that gives additional time to the architects and for the planning to make sure that we can
Break ground the
break
following
ground
year.
the following
Yeah.
summer.
And-
So that's another
If they-
thing to consider.
Part of our
If they want
marketing-
that job, they'll get the ground, 60 days isn't going to make any difference to them.
but
In
part
the
of marketing-
presentation to the committee, they made it sound like it does make a difference, so.
And I know why, and so do you, but my point is this, I mean, again, we keep adding stuff to the budget. Here's a chance to kind of recoup some of that. It is semantics. I mean, you're
Well, there's a design, they need time for the design, and you change your mind and you add this and you subtract that. And I mean, it's intricate, and you don't, the design
I know,
isn't,
I went through it with this building.
I know. I did too.
But I know I'm a pinch penny, but that's a concern to me. Did I say that right?
That's well spoken.
Not cheap.
Well, I guess, I mean,
I'm spending somebody else's money, not just mine. That's the
Right.
way I look at it.
Do we have a firm number on what it's gonna cost for the election?
The estimate was no more than 40,000.
And how much do we have in the budget for district elections?
To the blue sheets.
My
You haven't
point
memorized
is
it?
No,
this is
not
robbing
right,
Peter to
sorry.
pay Paul.
Yeah,
But when the marketing is a renewal, it must be a renewal.
well, you can spend 20 grand on marketing and and get a free election.
But we would have a free election in November for the reelection.
re-election.
I mean, we have several
August.
seats coming
Primary
up.
would be in August and the general would be in.
Right.
And because there's other things on the ballot, there's not a fee to us, right, for those.
Right.
Trouble with an August vote in terms of campaign is the potential of losing some of your yes voters to vacation. School personnel and families who make travel and may not come home for an election. So from the campaign side, August is more of a gamble than May.
But we're in the wonderful world of
Mail-in
absentee
ballots.
ballots now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the clerks have to send them. All you have to do is request it and they have to send them to you.
It doesn't mean that somebody's going to do it for this kind of a vote, though. And
Yes.
I would
as
say,
part
I would
of,
say, I mean, I'm not saying I don't just do shoot now, but I think FC ballots are getting filled out, especially in this midterm. 2022 will be midterm, so there'll be a lot there. But, I mean, I get the
Well,
other.
the primary though,
right. And as part of the budget committee, that was what we discussed was, or, I'm sorry, not the budget committee, the building futures committee. Our target was a May election and we had our reasons for it. And we've cited some of those reasons. It's a good plan.
Yep.
I think the
agree.
concern
May.
is. Oh, go ahead, Suzanne.
No,
I'm
I was
sorry.
going to say, I agree that the plan should be May.
I think the concern is valid, Greg, and but I think May is the better if you look at the statistics for an election. But I think Mr. Lewis's comment is valid that we have to
course it is.
continue to watch the budget very, very closely because we do seem to be adding things every month to the budget. So, if we decide to go in May, then we as a board have to stay vigilant. And we know that you were able to do some things to balance this budget revision, which is positive, but some of those funding sources may not be there, in future years. So,
Currently, the election costs are in two line items. One line item has a budgeted expenditure a projection of 30,000, and the other line item is 12,500. So that incorporates it.
so 42,500. But
No-
I
no
think
more than
the cost of a May election is worth the future resources in the district to bring more enrollment, would be my opinion.
I 100% agree with that. And it's needed. And it actually could save money.
Well, and I was
Long
going to wait
run
until
heating.
our board comments to bring it up, but since we're here, I was thinking it would be a really helpful thing for us to visualize and for the community to have some actual projected savings of if the bond passes, when the bond passes, and we take care of the things we're looking to take care of. We're looking at going from 6 schools to 3 schools. There's savings in transportation, there's savings in utilities, there's savings in custodians. And when I say that, I don't mean getting rid of any custodians. We're already short custodians. But there would be a savings from what we have budgeted for those extra custodians that we don't even have. It would be, I think, very helpful to have those savings outlined, like I said, for us as a board to visualize and for the community as well. I'm sure you've already thought of that, Rick, but
Well, it's part of the whole marketing thing.
right. I think it would help Greg. I think it would help a lot, or penny pinchers. I think it would help them a lot to see that savings.
Anybody else have comments?
I have to say, I do agree with Greg. I think spending $40,000 on an election, waiting 2 months later is not a big deal. So I think our community's bright enough and smart enough to know that, hey, yep, it's going to drop off, but it's coming right back. So I don't think
It's 3 months, but
okay, 3 months. But our community's smart enough to understand what is going on. So if they were willing to pay the 7.2 now, they're going to be willing to pay the 7.2, in August. Vote for it in August or vote for it in May. So I just think personally, I think people are smart enough to know the difference. And if we could save $40,000, let's say $40,000, because that could go right into educational resources for our students. So,
And if we didn't spend that money, would it go back into what?
So this is amounts that I normally budget for, election costs, because sometimes we don't know what elections, there's lots of money that I assign. And then at the end of the year, with the final June budget amendment, I might tweak it downward if necessary, or, it would roll into the fund balance.
That's what I thought. Okay.
so I guess how do we move on? I guess we
go to vote.
We go to vote if we go to vote,
It's still on as an action
we
item.
do May, and then we go from there. Okay.
Yes, if this resolution doesn't pass this evening, then we will go through this process again, taking a new resolution to the Department of Treasury to change the date of the election. So somewhere in the spring, we would get a new date, make a new resolution, go through the process again for a November or for an August election.
So what we're going to vote on is to have it in May
Correct.
and vote appropriately.
This resolution is about a May vote.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right. Then we'll move on to action items.
I hereby move to approve the Tecumseh Public Schools Board of Education adopt the budget resolution as part of the first budget revisions of the fiscal year 2022 for the general fund account.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the budget as presented this evening, budget resolution as presented this evening. We'll do a roll call vote. Trustee Lewis?
Yes.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
I hereby move to approve the revision of the district calendar as agreed upon by the TEA and the school administration.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the new calendar. Roll call vote. Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Call me.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
I hereby move to accept with thanks the $1,000 donation from Kershaw for the Arrowhead Robotics Team 3773.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the $1,000 donation for Kirchhoff. Roll call vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Chair votes aye with thanks to Kirchhoff.
I hereby move to accept with thanks the $1,800 donation from County National Bank for athletic sponsorships in the 2021 through 2022 season.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the $1,800 donation from County National Bank for the athletic sponsorships. Roll call vote. Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Chair votes aye with thanks to County National.
I hereby move that the Tecumseh Public School Board of Education authorize the Secretary of Board of Education to sign the preliminary application and submit same to the State Treasurer for review and approval.
Second.
We moved and seconded to submit the application for the bond proposal. Roll call
Are
vote.
you gonna do any discussion first, or are we just gonna go for
Well,
it?
we just had discussion. Do we need
Okay.
more discussion?
I don't know. All right.
Do you feel we need any more discussion?
No, I don't.
Okay.
You can have a filibuster. I'm down.
Buster's not here. Trustee Davis?
Aye. Aye.
Trustee Lewis,
No.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
No.
trustee Tomlin,
No.
trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We'll go in May.
Would like to clarify, it's not a no against the millage, it's just when we have it, or
Yep.
the bond issue, just,
We know
Record.
that.
what's that?
We know
Oh,
that.
that's a great clip. I mean, that's-
Yes.
That's
Well,
about.
I don't, I think that's
This
the case.
table, what we get turned
Yeah.
over to.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe that's all the
Oh, yep, it is. Sorry, go ahead.
action items. We'll move on to district business. First on the is consent agenda.
I hereby move to approve the consent agenda, which includes the following items: minutes from the regular board meeting of November 29th, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda. Trustee Brooks,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. All right, superintendent's report.
Wanted to speak briefly about the threat issue that we have dealt with in the last 10 days or so. And really, what I really want to mention is just the things that have gone right. In this particular case, the threat was specific to an event by an individual that was identified, and through joint effort with high school administration and local law enforcement, that individual was picked up, incarcerated, will continue to be. I don't know exactly how long, but into January. And just the coordination between high school administration and law enforcement. And then the resulting way that it was addressed with staff, having spent a week in the hall with students who, they were fairly concerned that first Monday back, but as the week went along, became more and more comfortable. And I just really think that the staff, their presence, their acknowledgement of the issue, and their care and dedication with the protection and security of our kids was excellent to watch. And it has caused us administratively to have several conversations. We will continue to have conversations about our own preparation. And we have done a very thorough audit of two of our buildings, door security. As I mentioned, the camera upgrades on our facilities. We're going to continue with door security through the break. So it shed the light on some things that we need to make sure that we're continually paying attention to and making sure that we're on top of. So there were positives that came from the event that I think will make us better prepared and at least aware of the things that we do and don't do in the case of an event. So those things have been a positive. The SRO return comes at no better time. When the city voted last week at their meeting to approve their end of the deal, they directed the city manager to approve all overtime costs related that would need to be covered rather than waiting for a new officer to be hired and trained. And that means that Chad will be back in his office here at the high school January 3rd.
Nice.
That's very generous of the
Which is-
city.
yeah,
That's
it was
a
a-
hardship for them, for
It's a
sure.
good move for the city, and certainly we benefit from that, and we appreciate that to make this go a little faster. And then, speaking of the city, I've talked with the city mayor and the city manager about having a joint work session between the city council and the board. It would be, I think, largely focused on the bond project and, just answering questions and sharing knowledge about what it is what it covers, how it impacts the city and so on. But also having discussions about things that we jointly consider, the SRO being one of them. So it won't be a joint meeting, it'll be a joint workshop or work session, and we'll get that scheduled, like I said, January, early February.
Yeah, I did speak with Mayor Baker at the parade. He expressed interest in doing that, and I told him we have our full commitment on that as well.
Right.
My full
We'll get that-
commitment.
We'll
I like
firm
him.
up a date before we break for the holidays. And that's it for my report this evening.
Are you taking questions?
Certainly.
I was curious, I remember, are we doing Alice training? Have we continued to do that?
The district was Alice certified in 2017 when I left. And I was actually a certified trainer for Alice. It appears that it
I
hasn't
think
been
there's some
done.
confusion about what Alice is.
Right.
Go ahead.
Alice is a protocol, and Alice is also a company or a business. So to become Alice certified, you have to get your training from Alice. And while we have not been recertified through Alice, some of the training and some of the drills that we run still involve some of the protocols that are in that training. It hasn't been updated in a while. Some of the administration, most of the administration that was here when we were certified is no longer here. So we've got some steps that we need to take.
It's training for response in emergency situations.
Right,
That's what these guys told me.
yeah.
So you plan to do that?
Right, and when Chad comes back, he was also a certified Alice trainer. So, we'll work with Chad to bring us up to speed. I had 2 emails from concerned parents that we were going to immediately go into live action active shooter drills and talked about the stress related to that. And I assured them that we are not close to being able to do that level of training. It takes an enormous amount of training and preparation. And if and when we get to the point that we would do live action training like that we would notify parents well in advance so that they're aware and kids can be prepared. So talking about upgrading and updating our Alice protocols does not mean that we are on the verge of something active in terms of preparation. We have a lot of base level stuff that we've got to get done and audit our own, some of our classroom protection devices for lockdown and all the things that were in place at one time, trying to get a handle on what's there. Having Chad back will be very good for getting
That'll be
that,
helpful.
yeah, he knows what needs to be there, and he's been in the district when we were going through our certifications, so he knows what we should be doing, and that'll be a good asset for us to get re-prepared.
How long has he been the SRO officer?
I believe that he was appointed as the SRO in 2018. He's been with the department in Tecumseh for 19 years.
Okay.
And he's been working closely with our staff for several of them.
So kind of piggybacking off of Becky's question, in light of the response of some of the administrators in Oxford, is there any plan for the counselors and administrators to get together and review certain policies and procedures related to threats or concerning situations?
We've had one discussion with the administration, and again, I think that it's important that we as administrators know exactly what the policies and guidelines are as we're in transition to moving to the Troon.
Do they have something in there?
They will have
That would
language in
address
there.
this.
So it's a good time for us to learn new policy anyway and to refresh that. I can say with a lot of confidence, Mrs. Tomlin
I'm
and
going to tell
I
you
worked.
right now, there's no way in God's green earth, if something came to you, that it
Right.
wouldn't go to administration. I think either of these gentlemen can testify that, and I'm confident that that is true of any counselor that we currently have in the district. We work hand in hand with administration on many things.
But it's not
This
just
being
counselors,
one
it could
of
be
them.
teachers too, right? Like if it was a drawing of,
Teachers are, I don't know.
I mean, everybody works
I just
together.
retired, I've been out 1 year, but teachers are
on it.
awesome.
Okay.
Our teachers are incredible at getting any information immediately. And it's always talked about with teachers that like we've had protective service training and all kinds of things, that they are the people that need to report. I'm
not
Yes.
so worried about the reporting. I'm more interested in understanding our response the day of. Do we institute a cooling off period? Do we, send people off campus, that sort of thing, to make sure that
it's
if there's a
in my
concern, we don't
past,
stay in the
It's been
campus?
based on the situation and based on a lot of different things.
So
and
just
I
as
was-
long as
Along the way.
I'm not the expert on deciding what that should be, and I acknowledge that. My concern more, because there are ramifications for the district, which also means ramifications for the Board of Education, that those policies and those procedures are very, very clear. That's more my
Yeah, I
concern.
think.
Right, and I think magnifying that right now, aside from what happened at Oxford, in our case, is the transition to a new set of policies.
Certainly true.
The board obviously is going to have to become well-educated in policy. The administration is going to have to be well-educated in the administrative guidelines. So that'll be, anything related to safety will be the first things that we dig into and make sure that those details are spread out to the staff that are necessary to have those.
What a great thing that we are going with Troon again, I'd like to repeat, because Troon is what most Michigan schools use, where the other policy was something that was, obviously this kind of thing happens throughout the country, but I feel really confident that we're going with Troon, and we'll be
And
able
that's something the policy
to have.
committee will address right after the first year, right? Start reviewing those.
We won't be reviewing the administrative guidelines, just the policies. I think
Policy.
Rick's more or less talking about administrative guidelines, what to do if
And
this.
there are
happens, so.
administrative guidelines associated with them, right?
The
Yes.
board approved purchasing
We
both
can
the
peek at it.
policy and the ad regs.
Okay.
Okay.
And the last note on that is, in that marketing, we've also talked about increasing safety with the Building Futures Committee with the bond. So
Oh, yes.
keeping in line with all of that,
Yeah.
redesigning the middle school to be much more functional entrance safety wise.
All right. Anything else? Thank you, Rick. Public comment. Do we?
Item scheduled for next agenda.
Oh, item scheduled for next agenda. Let's talk about December 20th. Thank you. I was going to bring that in my comment. Right now, we have nothing that's carrying over from this meeting to the December 20th meeting. So I'm recommending that we do not have that meeting. We cancel that meeting on the 20th.
I was going to be out of town that day.
I'm
so-
out of town too.
Oh,
there
well,
we
there
go.
you go.
Well.
Not together,
You
though.
can't be here, I guess.
Promise.
No, well, we have nothing we're carrying over. On the next agenda would be good news. It would be consent agenda and Christmas cookies, right?
So-
So,
I will
Where's
make
the-
a motion to remove the,
Fort Myers is fine.
oh, we don't- so we'll make a motion to remove the December 20th meeting from the schedule, which would make our next meeting our
First scheduled meeting in January
10th.
January, is it 10th?
10th.
January 10th meeting, which would be our officers meeting,
Organization.
Might not be at that one.
organization meeting.
what's that?
I might be in Indianapolis for that one. We'll see.
That one too?
Maybe.
I said,
Oh, I see.
Oh.
Wishful thinking.
Oh,
Come on, you need to get your priorities straight. All right, so it's been moved. Do we have a second?
Yeah,
I think
second.
Lynn whispered it,
Second.
but
Second. All right, it's been moved and second that we cancel the December 20th meeting. Roll call vote, trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
aye.
trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. There will not be a December 20th meeting. All right, now, public comment. Do we have anyone here from the public that wishes to make a comment about anything? Okay.
She's
No?
looking.
All right. We're limited public here, but that does not appear that she's wants to has anything to say tonight that she wants to tell us. All right, board member discussion and comments.
I do. I have had the privilege through my job at Lenawee now and some volunteer work to be at the tech center a lot for sophomore visits, which all county schools do. One thing has really struck my attention. They choose student leaders, the teachers choose them to speak and to talk about the programs with all of the incoming people. Tecumseh students in the morning and the afternoon are by far the percentage. I've been doing a little calculation, and 60% of the student leaders are from Tecumseh, which is something we should be very proud of, because at the Tech Center, 40% of their grade is work habits and their ability to be punctual. It reflects well on us. I also went to the open house that they held the other evening for parents and family, and many people commented, "Oh my God, it's Tecumseh, Tecumseh, Tecumseh," because obviously I knew everyone who came in the door, and that's why they knew it was Tecumseh, because I'm like, "Oh hi," But nonetheless, this speaks well in the county, and many of the instructors have commented, "Wow, these are terrific kids." So I just, I think kudos to the staff at Tecumseh, the parents, and our students for shining in a county forum like that. We have them shine in athletics and art and music, but to shine in this particular academic area, I think is something to be very proud of with their behavior and such.
Absolutely.
I think it could be the video Becky showed me of Dennis's motivational weekly speeches to these kids. It was,
For those of you that don't have a student in the high school.
oh my
And of
gosh.
course, he's not in here now, but
Yeah, he isn't, but it was
Suzanne
something
and I were
else. I
together
really
Friday
liked it.
For the ISD breakfast, and so I played his video for,
He's giving you some competition there.
and yeah, I mean, they're lengthy, but it's
Lots of energy. I've seen one or two.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You'll let Dennis know we appreciate that.
Yeah, we couldn't pick on him, he left.
Yeah.
So anyway, I also was going to add, when we were talking about the reschedule from the dance, a lot of community members step up and helped out, like the Gray Fox Floral. They offered to refresh corsages. There were some folks that were redoing hair, all kinds of stuff that happened like that. So really want to thank the community for stepping up and helping out with that. As you know, the ones that talked to me, I was really upset about us having to reschedule it because I knew so many kids had already gotten their hair done and their corsages and whatnot. But I really was appreciative of the community stepping up and helping a lot of those kids out. In addition, I really want to encourage all of our board members to educate themselves and understand what the Building Futures Committee did and what we were trying to do. I think it's really important that we show a united front, and I don't feel like we're getting that all the time. I think it's very important that you understand what the goals were and how it will benefit, and not only our district and our students, but the entire community. So I just really feel like that's a conversation that we need to have. And that's it.
I did go to the dance. It was yes, I got that little text and whatnot. I thought, I'm going to pop in because, I do love chaperone dances now.
Oh,
I even chaperone dances when Mr. Simpson was in school.
Oh, yeah.
And it was great. I told Rick, I love social dynamics. But what I love about a dance is like all the different social groups and the kids, and they were having a great time. They were just looked so happy Mr. Broussard was there too, there was no photographer because he had a conflict, but she was over there just taking pictures right and left against a backdrop, and everyone was happy. And, obviously I don't know any of the new dance steps, but it was really nice.
I bet you can
That's
take
awesome.
I was going to say two things. One, what a resource we have in the TCA and the Nutcracker. Our students were most of the leads, and they did an excellent job. I've been to, I think, 3 now, and by far it gets better every time. So very proud of them. That's a lot of work. And I one of the Snow Queen leads is our neighbor, and so we were really proud of her to see her do that. But really good work by all of those kids and by the parents and the volunteers that supported that. And I just want to thank Rick publicly for his leadership during these threats and the dance and all those types of things. Really strong leadership, I think, both to your board and to your administrators in your schools. So just public
I'll
thanks
second
for
that.
that.
And I was going to thank Rick and the administrators who were there and staff members, but then beat me to it. But to those police officers that came in here,
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to see people ride to the sound of gunfire and not away from it, especially at a time like that. You know, bad times seem to bring out the best in people. It's a shame you have to have bad times, but it tells you a lot, speaks volumes about, you know, those guys didn't get paid for that. They just did it because it was their job, and they've got that in their heart to take care of the safety of our kids, and we can't thank them enough for that.
I don't know. I didn't get to go to the Empty Bowl, but I was allowed to go in. I had a conflict to buy one of the ceramic bowls that were made. I think you probably went, didn't you?
No, we
before
ended
that?
up not.
It was, if you've not done that before, I mean, our art department has done that for years, and they generated an enormous amount of money for God's Bread Basket and the Tecumseh Service Club. So that was pretty exceptional. I think if you still want a ceramic bowl,
I like
you
bowls.
can still donate some money. Well, you should pop in here down to the art department.
I
I bet
will.
you could whip up something real fast.
Okay, I have a couple things. I want to just start by saying thank you to everyone for the kind actions during my mother's illness. The planner you guys sent was great. The words of support, the text sympathy cards, it's very nice. So thank you. I was had a lengthy statement about the winter formal, but I think the other board members have covered that, so I second that. The last thing I want to say is I just wanted to send a message to our students, staff, and community. And that I want to assure them that as the board president, we will take every precaution necessary to ensure their safety. I want to be firm in the fact that if there are additional threats made on the school system, we will go to great extents to find these individuals and punish them and push for them to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Any threat will be taken very seriously. Mr. Hilderly mentioned that in his update on December 6th, and as board president, I support him.
Thank you.
Well said.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, anybody else?
I'd like to tell the staff I love your sweaters.
All right, so
They're
now
not ugly.
well, we are going to have to adjourn to a closed session to pursuant to Public Act 1972 for a disciplinary action. So I'll need a motion to do that.
I move that we adjourn to closed session pursuant to Public Act 267 of 1972, Section 8H, to consider exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute consideration of student disciplinary action.
Second.
We move to second to go into closed session. Have a roll call vote. Trustee Moore,
Aye.
Trustee Simpson,
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
Trustee Brooks,
Aye.
Trustee Davis,
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Lewis. Chair votes aye. It is 8:06 and we are going into a closed session. So we'll have to clear the room, please.
5 minutes
Thank you for the
recess.
chocolate, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Oh, candy. It's candy time. You made this?
Yeah.
Get out.
Kind of
We're now prepared to come back out of closed session. I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
There's your motion and second.
Support.
Okay, so moving second that we come out of closed session. The roll call vote, trustee Brooks,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It's 9:02. We are returning back to open session. As a result of our discussions, is anyone prepared to make a motion or action?
I have the resolution.
Okay,
Now therefore be it resolved that a preponderance of the evidence establishes on November 8th, 2021, the student possessed a dangerous weapon, a hatchet, with a blade 4.5 inches in length in a weapon-free school zone. The student was also in possession of a vape. Based on careful consideration of all the following factors, the board determines that permanent expulsion is warranted. The student's age, the student's disciplinary history, whether the student has a disability, the seriousness of the behavior, the board, whether the behavior posed a safety risk, whether restorative practices are a better option, and whether lesser interventions would address the behavior. The student is permanently expelled from the district, subject to possible reinstatement under revised school code section 1311-6. During the time of the expulsion, the student may not be on school grounds or attend any functions at the district without prior written approval from an appropriate administrator. Administrators are directed to refer the student to the County Department for Social Services or the County Community Mental Health Agency, or to notify the student's parents or guardians of the referral within 3 calendar days of this resolution. Consistent with revised school code sections 11A and 1311-1, the board finds that the interests of the district are served by this resolution. Administrators are directed and authorized to implement all terms of this resolution and are delegated all necessary authority to do so. All resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with provisions of this resolution be and the same are hereby rescinded.
Second.
have a second. So it's been moved and seconded to accept the resolution for permanent expulsion. We'll have a roll call vote. Trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The resolution is passed. I believe there's nothing else on the agenda for this evening. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We move to second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.